Yo, what is going on, guys? J.Yumeko here, and today we're back with some more Cinderella phenomenon. Last time we left off, we finally found out, at the very least, how Rod got his curse. He'd fallen in love, but sadly, there was a little bit of a mix-up in everything, and the girl he liked ended up falling in love with someone else. So, yeah, but my thing is that the whole Little Mermaid deal is that she traded her voice for legs, so he must have traded his voice for something else, which I think he traded his voice in order for her to fall in love with him, which clearly didn't happen. It was something along those lines. But anyways, without further ado, let's just jump right back on into it. Now let's make sure we have the right save. Boom, here we go. I did not get the chance to discuss Rod's curse with him later that night, nor did I get the chance to speak with Parfait and Delora about my suspicions of Sir Alcaster. Days go by, but still I find myself overwhelmed by preparations for the ball. Things become more frantic every day, making it more difficult for me to have any time to speak with anyone. Eventually, I decide to write a letter containing my suspicions of Sir Alcaster. I tell Parfait and Delora that I believe he might be the witch they are looking for. I also add that I believe Fritz might somehow be involved, though my suspicions are not as well founded with him. To make matters worse, he went and disappeared. I've not heard anyone mention his name here for a very long time. I'm forcefully pulled from my thoughts when I collide with someone. The linens I had been holding scattered all over the floor. Excuse me, I do not... I look up and my voice trails off when I see who I bumped into. Mithros. Lost in your thoughts. Sir Mithros looks at me, something veiled in his smiling eyes. I suppose they are the linens the Queen's asked for? Yes, please excuse me. I begin gathering up the linens, but as I reach out for one, Sir Mithros picks it up first. Allow me to help you. I would be fine. But this was partially my fault. Let me assist you. I bite my lip and do not raise protest as Sir Mithros helps me gather the rest of the linens. I'm contemplating my schedule for the rest of the day when I realise that Sir Mithros has been talking. I don't suppose you might have any idea on who made this, on who that maid is. Maid? There is a cold amusement in Sir Mithros' gaze. Surely you've heard the rumours of the young prince having been seen with the royal maid somewhere around town. Rumour has it that Prince Rod has found love among the common folk, much like his royal stepfather has. Rod with a maid? As far as I'm aware, the only maid he's been out with in town has been... I freeze as Sir Mithros straightens, patting down his clothes for dust before holding out the linens to me. If it is true, I wish him the best, though I wish he would be more discreet about it. A royal scandal is the last thing we need right now. I shakily take the linens from Sir Mithros as he inclines his head to me. Have a good day, Yumeko. I walk to the dining hall in a haze, my mind whirling with the implications of what Sir Mithros just said. I'm sure it was those noblewomen who spread the rumour. Ah, Yumeko, thank you for bringing these to me. Just leave them on the table. I curtsy after placing the linens down as commanded. If that is all... Yumeko. I straighten at the tone of Ophelia's voice. When I look up, I see that her expression is carefully still. I'm about to ask you something that you might not want to answer, but I very much hope you will. I will answer if I can. Good. Ophelia sighs as she sits down on one of the dining table chairs and folds her hands on her lap. I've been trying to ignore it since palace gossip is mostly false, but I can't help my curiosity. I wanted to ask about your relationship with my son. What? I understand you and Rod were out together in town a few days ago. Do you want to tell me what happened? Ah! Okay, we gotta save! Alright, let's think about this. If we explain the situation, I feel like Ophelia is honestly pretty, understanding. So I feel like she would kind of understand everything. But if we were just to dismiss it, then I feel like that would further, cause trouble. That would further kind of make her think, oh, well, she may be lying, right? So I think I'm going to explain the situation. If Ophelia is asking me about these rumours, then I can only imagine what sort of story those women made up. Prince Ward was just on his way somewhere when he chanced upon me. When he saw that I was in trouble with two noblewomen, he stepped to intervene. That is all. Oh, he stopped to intervene, my bad. Rod said the same thing. Then why did you ask me, Your Majesty? Do you see what you thought about the situation? I don't think anyone should get to saying what your relationship with Rod is. My relationship with Rod? I like you, Yumeko, and I'm certain that you're good for Rod. If I had my way, I would let him court you. Yeah, boy. Little did you know, he's my stepbrother. Yeah. I feel I feel heat in my cheeks as I trip over my words. The prince and I are not in that relationship. Are not in a relationship. A member of the royal family cannot end up with a servant. Where there's love, there's hope. Social status shouldn't stop you from being happy, Yumeko. Then what about the fact that I'm Rod's stepsister? There it is. We finally acknowledged the elephant in the room. God, I hate it because when I had first decided to go for Rod's route, it didn't even click in my mind. Wait, they're step siblings. I bite down on that statement fiercely. I already know what role I am playing here, and I cannot break it. Ophelia looks at me with a complicated expression before she sighs. I will not push you on this any further. But be careful, Yumeko. Your closeness with my son and daughter has not gone unnoticed. I do not believe in limiting relationships because of one's status, but I understand. I curtsy as I move toward the dining hall's entrance. What did Ophelia mean by that closeness not going unnoticed? Later that day, as I am waiting outside the throne room for Emmeline to finish one of her classes, two maids walk toward me and stop in front of me. Yumeko, isn't it? What is it? I've already finished all of my tasks for the day. Oh, I'm sure you have. Probably rushed through all of them so that you could hang around the prince and princess tonight. The head housekeeper's been giving you a lighter load so you can afford the time to play around. I blink at them, confused. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't play dumb. All the servants know what you've been doing. Just because you're Princess Emmeline's personal maid doesn't make you better than the rest of us. I'd be careful not to get too big for your boots, Yumeko. Are you threatening me? What if we were? Then I'd be very disappointed in you. I'm going to assume this is Rod. Then I'd be very disappointed in you. Oh, it's not a guy! Oh my god, I didn't see that coming. Alright, ignore that. Emmeline just had to clear her throat. Now she's back to normal. Princess Emmeline! Emmeline moves to stand beside me, a disapproving expression on her face. I do not expect such petty cruelty from the two of you. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Your Highness. You really do have a talent for getting yourself into trouble. Rod pauses briefly, his eyes meeting mine for a second before he looks at the maids. Don't you have better things to do than bully my sister's maid? We apologise, Your Highness. We'll be on our way. The two maids run off. Emmeline turns to look at me. Are you okay? I'm about to answer when I notice that Rod is abruptly walking away from us. I frown at his back. He'd only just started being nice to me, and now he's back to acting as if I don't exist. What did I do? Emmeline puts her hands on my back and gently pushes me forward. You wanted to ask him something, right? I could see it in your eyes. Emmeline smiles as she pushes the door to the throne room open. I have a few more questions to ask my teacher. I'll be a while. But she disappears into the throne room before I can finish. I glance down the hallway I glanced down the hallway. Rod just disappeared down, and then back at the throne room. My thoughts whirl together in a vague mess until I make my decision. Wait! At the sound of my approaching footsteps, Rod turns and looks at me. He scowls but does not say anything. Alright, tell him off for his behavior, or say nothing. Huh. Oh, that's pretty difficult actually. Like, if we go and like tell him off, like, oh, why are you ignoring me? Then he's gonna be like, oh, you fucking buffoon, it's because of this and that. Like, the reason he's ignoring us is because obviously he's heard about the rumors as well. He's not trying to make trouble for us. Let's see what saying nothing does. I feel abruptly tongue-tied when I come face to face with him. It is likely that my telling him off will result in some sort of altercation, and that would not be good. What? I have better things to do than be gaped at. Rod turns away from me. I'm left to stare dumbly after him. What's wrong with him? Normally he's not so afraid to speak his mind. Alright, let's load this and choose the other one now. Because it's possible I got that wrong. The words spill out of me before I can even think on them. What have I done now to make you angry with me? Nothing. He turns away and I glare as I follow closely behind him. You expect me to believe that? You can at least look at me when I'm talking to you. I reach out a hand to his elbow and pull him back so that he's facing me. Rod! But the words die in my throat when I see the expression on his face. His face is red, and he refuses to look me in the eye. Alright, there we go. Okay, that was the right choice. My surprise causes me to release him. Rod quickly turns around and begins to walk away. I'm left to stare dumbly after him. What's wrong with him? Normally he's not so afraid to speak his mind. I frown as I feel a dull ache throbbing somewhere deep in my chest. What is this? Why do I feel sad? Normally Rod's distance does not make me feel like this. And yet now... Am I really so sad that he does not want to speak with me? I shake my head and take a deep breath to still my mind. It is better not to think about it. Alright, new chapter. The ball. Alright, this has to be like the fucking peak of it, right? Because where our whole thing is Cinderella's curse and what is it? And you know, the ball, right? Like those two have a very direct correlation with each other. So this might be the final chapter, potentially. It is the day of the ball and I am waiting for Emmeline to finish her last dance rehearsal. The lesson was over an hour ago, but Emmeline remains here to continue practicing the steps. Meanwhile, I am preoccupied with the thoughts of Rod's curse. I cannot believe that Rod traded his voice for a title, so the reason the king was able to find Ophelia... Ah, yeah, I remember. That's what he traded his voice for. So he could become a noble and try and win his girl back over, because she wanted a prince. Was because of Rod. It's a little difficult to wrap my head around the implications, but one thing bothers me. Rod told me why he has the curse, but he gave no explanation as to how to break it. How did it go in the original fairy tale? Emmeline finishes up the last steps of her routine before walking over to me. I hand her the glass of water I was holding for her. Thank you, Yumeko. Emmeline must have noticed my curiosity because she stops to look at me quizzically. Is something the matter? I read a little bit of that fairy tale, but never finished it. Can you tell me the whole story of the Little Mermaid? The Little Mermaid? Emmeline takes a seat on one of the chairs bordering the throne room and gestures for me to take the one opposite her. Telling a fairy tale is always a good way to wind down. Once upon a time, there was a mermaid that fell in love with a handsome prince. One day, when she swam to the surface of the ocean to find him, she saw that the prince was celebrating his birthday on the grandest ship in the kingdom. The little mermaid was captivated by the human party and stayed to watch. Then, suddenly, a violent storm hit and the prince was thrown from the ship into the ocean. The little mermaid saved the prince and took him safely to shore, but she could not stay long. She eventually had to return to the ocean and leave him on land. This is similar to Viorica's rescue. The little mermaid was so in love with the prince that she went to see a witch who offered to trade her a potion that would turn her mermaid tail into legs. They struck a deal. The mermaid would sacrifice her beautiful voice for legs that she could live with legs so that she could live with the prince on land. So, in Rod's case, he traded away his voice to become a prince. However, the sea witch gave the little mermaid a warning and said that if she wasn't able to make the prince fall in love with her, there would be consequences. Consequences? Yes. Namely, if the prince fell in love and married someone else, the mermaid's heart would break and she would dissolve into sea foam. So basically, he could die. I cannot help but recoil. My expression must betray my horror because Emmeline quickly shakes her head. There's no reason to be worried. Rod has said that his curse is different from the fairy tale. And you believe him? Emmeline shrugs helplessly as she puts down her now empty glass of water. The fairy tale curse always twists the original fairy tale, right? Besides, it's not as if Rod traded his voice for legs, and I've never heard of a cursed person that dies because they cannot break their curse. That may be true, but Emmeline does not know what Rod traded his voice for. She does not know that he did it to become a prince for Viorica. Rod is already hiding things from her. Is it possible that Rod will die the day Viorica marries Desmond? That is an interesting thought. So Rod's life could potentially be in danger here. Later that day, I find Rod in the dining hall. He appears to be inspecting the seating arrangements for the night's banquet. I actually have a theory here. I think that our final good deed would probably be helping Rod break his curse. Because I think we only need one more. He glances up briefly to look at me before returning his attention to the placards with the guest's name on them. What is it? I've been looking for you all morning. I'm distracted from what I'm about to say when I notice Rod switching the position of two placards. I frown as I catch the name on one of them. He's moving Viorica's place at the table. Is he trying to make sure she sits as far away from him as possible? Surely you have better things to do than stay in here. What happens if you cannot break your curse? Rod's movements stutter before he shakes his head sharply. That is something that you do not need to know. Plead with him or get angry at him. I feel like getting angry at him... Like, I don't know, man. Because, like, if in my thinking, right, getting angry with him would show that, hey, I actually care about you and I'm trying to help you. Versus pleading with him, which makes it seem like, oh, I'm taking pity on you, like, and I'm desperate to break my own curse, right? I may be completely misinterpreting this, but that is how I feel. So I'm gonna get angry at him, I think. I already have it saved. Rod's coldness glares at me and I find myself snapping at him. What is wrong with you? Excuse me? All I'm doing is trying to help you break your curse, but you're acting as if I'm trying to help you, as if my trying to help you would only make things worse. No. No, I'm only insisting that I do not need your help. We're partners, Rod. I know that doesn't seem to mean much to you, but it means something to me. I intentionally softened my tone when I realized that I'd been shouting at him. You should let me help you. What for? Just because you've somehow managed to get two good deeds on your own doesn't mean that you can help me at all, Yumeko. Frustration courses through me as I clench my hands into fists. Why must he be so stubborn? Is he so certain that I will not be able to help him at all? Emmeline told me the story of the Little Mermaid. She said that the mermaid dies if the prince marries someone else. Rod, when Viorica marries Desmond, will you... My voice trails off when I hear the sound of the door behind us. Is it Ophelia or the king? Rod rushes forward and grabs me before I can glance back at the door. Ow! I become aware of a weight holding me down to the floor. The impact of the ground against my head blurs my vision, making it impossible for me to see what's happening at first. Am I underneath the dining table? I struggle to try and sit up, but the weight pushes down on me again, forcing me to be still. Quiet. Rod? Why did he push me underneath the table? I'm about to ask him aloud when the sound of footsteps silences me. I cannot help but remember what Sir Mithras was saying about rumours. If Rod and I were seen alone together by the servants, the rumours would no doubt get worse. But why is Rod doing this? I stay quiet as possible. I stay quiet as the people enter the built dining hall and begin to talk. I will save there. And I just want to check out what the other option would bring us. Something aches deep in my chest at Rod's coldness. Please. Rod startles so strongly that he almost drops the placard he's holding. Please tell me. We've been partners for months now. But I've barely... Yes, I know that it's an unusual partnership, and that most of our helping each other has been subtle, but... I'm only one good deed away from breaking my curse, while you seem to be no closer to breaking your curse than when we started. I will do whatever I can to help you break your curse, Rod. So please, let me help you. Okay, come on. One thing I will say... Like, I get it. It should have been obvious. But to me, it's not like that, right? I'm just overthinking everything, I guess. I guess I'm just overthinking everything. I'm just gonna go with, like, the obvious answer from now on, because that's clearly what I've been fucking up on here. Silence falls. Moments later, Rod sighs and looks away from me. Some unspeakably sad emotion shines through his eyes. Even if I wanted your help, Yumeko, there's nothing you can do. Dread settles in the pit of my stomach at Rod's words. Could I be right? Will Rod actually die if he does not manage to break his curse? Okay, blah, 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 blah. I stay quiet as the people that enter the dining hall begin to talk. How strange for this place to be empty at this time of day. There's a pause, and then another voice speaks up. You better have good news for me, Mithras. Oh, okay, so it is the two guys. Sir Alcast and Sir Mithras. Rod's hands tighten on my shoulders. Everything is as you requested, Sir Alcaster. There should be no issues. There better not be. I think I gave him that kind of voice. You disappointed me before, Mithras. I'll be careful not to try my patience again. Yes, Sir Alcaster. Sir Mithras sounds oddly subservient. But why? The two of them are both ranked equally, and neither of them should have to answer to anyone other than the king. Unless Sir Alcaster truly is the witch, and is forcing Sir Mithras to obey him with a spell. Wait a few minutes after I leave. We should not be seen together. I do not hear Sir Mithras respond, but I can hear Sir Alcaster leaving the room. Sir Mithras sighs out, but is otherwise silent when he leaves the room after a few moments. I exhale fully as the door finally closes behind Sir Mithras. This is bad. I was so engrossed in Sir Alcaster and Sir Mithras' conversation that I only just now realised that Rod is hovering over me. Hey! Hey, are you alright? Are you hurt? Yeah, I got some boo-boos. You wanna kiss them for me? Yeah! You look a little... Rod suddenly pauses as he notices our positions. He stares at me for a few moments, eyes wide. He scrambles out from underneath the dining table, and by the time I do the same, he's standing far away from me, his gaze fixed on the wall. He's bright red. It would be funny if I weren't sure I was the same colour. Rod clears his throat. It seems that Sir Alcast really is the witch if he has the ability to make Sir Mithras obey him. Lady Parfait should be told immediately. Rod turns on his heel to leave the dining room. Rod, wait. What? This is urgent, Princess. I can't just... When Viorica marries Desmond, will you die? Rod pauses for a moment, but I can tell from his pained expression that he will not speak. You're running out of time, Rod! My eyes flit between Sebi and Rod. What does that mean? Nothing. He turns away from me once again and starts walking away. Rod. There must be something in my voice that makes Rod stop, because he turns to look at me. Please stop running away from this. What would knowing the answer achieve, Yumeko? Though Rod's words are harsh, his tone is soft. There's nothing anyone can do. Leave it alone, Yumeko. It's for the best. I cannot help but get mad at Rod's dismissive tone. I move towards him, frowning. How can you say something like that? You're not the only person that will be affected if you keep refusing to do anything to break your curse. Can you imagine what your death would do to your sister? To your mother? Losing you would destroy them. Rod's face suddenly inches away from mine. He places his hands to the wall behind me, caging me in. His face is flushed with anger, but the look in his eyes is tormented. My family has been dealing with the consequences of my actions for the majority of my life. Don't think that I don't know what effect my curse has on the people closest to me. Besides, I don't want to involve you in this too. His voice is a whisper, but I can still hear his words. Rod. Rod pushes away from me and stalks off as I stare after him. He says that, but then he still does nothing to try and break his curse. I do not understand him at all. What is stopping him? Rod is absent from the palace for the rest of the day, and returns only once the sun has set to prepare for the ball. I've not been able to talk to him since, but I assume that he has been to the margin to tell Delora and Parfait about our suspicions of Sir Alcast being a witch. I hope that they come up with an effective plan for dealing with him. The palace is not safe so long as he's here. The ball is just about to start that evening, and I have been asked to make sure none of the guests are lost in wandering the hallways.
Alright, I think it's a good stopping point actually, just right before we get into the ball. We're gonna save and return to main menu. Alright. So, we're really trying to push to find out why he doesn't want to break his curse and how we could potentially break it. Because that's kind of been his thing the whole time. And also, it's kind of a sticky spot, because theoretically, to break his curse, you would need Viorica to fall in love with him. Or at least for, them to end up together. But if you were to do that, then me and Rod's whole little step-bro, step-sis love thing is going to be kind of thrown for a loop. So I am curious as to how that could potentially play out. Just because this is so weird. I mean, this is like some fucking incestual shit. Like semi-incestual right here. So I guess we're just going to have to find out in the next episode. Anyways, that's going to be for this time. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the video and tell me in the comment section below what you would like to see me play next. If you enjoy this series or any other videos or series on my channel, then I highly recommend that you hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you'll be notified when a new one of those videos comes out. Anyways, that's it for me, and I'll see you in the next one.